Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope everything's good wherever you are. So guys, I wanted to do a video about what Tim Bradley said about Terence Crawford and Errol Spence. He says Terence Crawford will stop Errol Spence. He'll knock him out. Terence Crawford will knock out Errol Spence late on in that fight. He said that Terence Crawford's got a lot more in the toolbox. He's got a lot more to his game. He can go southpaw, orthodox. He can do it all, you know. And he just feels like he's the better fighter out of the two. He's got the more skills. He's just a more complete guy, and he will beat Errol Spence, and not just beat him, but it'll stop him when they do square up and match up. Which, you know, I've admitted that I think is possible. Now, I would be immensely impressed if Terence Crawford can stop Errol Spence, because I honestly don't see that. Can Terence Crawford beat Errol Spence? Yeah, I can see that. I can see Terence Crawford beating Errol Spence. I've already said that. Even though I'm predicting Errol Spence to stop Terence Crawford, I can see Crawford winning that fight. I'm not one that, oh no, Crawford's got no chance. No. Crawford's got a great chance of winning that fight. It's a 50-50. It's a pick 'em. It's just, look, I was initially on the Spence train, and I thought Spence would beat Terence Crawford. Then I kind of switched. I switched because I thought Errol Spence hasn't had a lot going his way. Crawford is looking special. He lives the life. But now I've seen Errol Spence fight. Ugas, and Errol Spence doesn't look like he's missed a step. Now, people have said, well, stylistically, Ugas stands there. The problem is a lot of people are underestimating Spence. Spence has very good feet, and he can cut the ring off. Now, he's in the fastest, but he's fast enough. He's fast enough to get Crawford. Remember, Porter was getting to Crawford. Porter was landing. See, people say, well, Porter was getting to him. Porter's nowhere near the pressure fighter Errol Spence is. Porter's nowhere near as good as Errol Spence is. So Porter was landing shots in that fight. So what makes people think that if Porter was landing shots, someone far more skilled, far better technically, far better boxer, far bigger puncher, what makes people think that Errol Spence isn't gonna land on Terence Crawford? A lot of people say, well, no, but Spence ain't even gonna land on Bud. Bud is this, that, and the other one. No, go watch the Sean Porter fight. How many times did Sean Porter land on Terence Crawford? That fight was a nip and tuck fight up until Terence Crawford turned it up near the end. Now, I get nobody stopped Sean Porter, but let's not forget, Sean Porter was also at the end of his career. You know, people need to understand that. You know, Sean Porter, like his dad had said, that they didn't have the grit. Now, look, that's not taking away anything from Crawford. Crawford beat him emphatically. But Porter ain't Errol Spence. He's not even close, right? And that fight was close, right? Just like the Porter Spence one was. But all I'm going to say is that Errol Spence is far better than Sean Porter. He's far more skilled. He's a far better pressure fighter. He punches far harder. He does virtually everything better than Sean Porter, in my opinion. He even has as good a chin, if not better. You know, and he has better defense as well. He doesn't get caught as easily as Porter did. So for me, all around the board, for me, Spence is just better. So for me, Terence Crawford is going to be fighting a natural welterweight, a big guy. He isn't going to have the size or height advantage. He may have a reach advantage because Terence Crawford's got longish arms. But regardless, you know, that isn't going to be much. And it's not going to be much of an advantage because Errol Spence is massive at the weight. He's big, he's strong, he takes a good punch. And he puts a lot of pressure on you. And one thing we know is pressure breaks pipes. And Errol Spence has the ability to break down Terence Crawford. Trust me when I say that. I have no agenda in this fight. I don't mind either guy. I like both guys. You know, I don't have any agenda. I don't have anything, you know, any favoritism towards any guy. But I just feel the size, the strength, the pressure, the technical ability of Spence. And you put it all together, yes, Crawford's better. He's a better boxer. He's more skilled. He's got more tools in the toolbox. But when you fight a guy that's maybe not as skilled as you, but the difference between them is like this, right? But when you add Spence's size, strength, power, and all of that. Now, people said Terence Crawford's a bigger puncher than Errol Spence. I don't know what we're going off. Are we going off the guys that he's been beating, or the guys? Because let's look at who Terence Crawford has fought. Right, Terence Crawford stopped Porter. I'll give him credit for that. You know, Errol Spence couldn't stop Porter. But who else has Terence Crawford fought that Errol Spence wouldn't stop? Would Errol Spence stop Kell Brook? Errol Spence would stop Amir Khan, especially the version that he fought. And he may have even stopped Khan in his prime. He would have stopped, you know, he would have stopped, you know, the other guys that he stopped. Jeff Horn. He would have stopped Benavidez, in my opinion. He would have stopped Kavaliauskas. So who is it that Terence Crawford has fought that Errol Spence wouldn't stop, or that would go the distance with Errol Spence? I don't know. So where are we getting this, that Terence Crawford has more punching power, or is a more... Because before, the narrative was that Errol Spence is the bigger puncher and Terence Crawford's the better boxer. But now, all of a sudden, because Terence Crawford's getting these knockouts, all of a sudden, Terence Crawford's become the knockout artist. On what basis? Terence Crawford's been fighting a lot of guys that have been past their prime. Amir Khan was past his prime. Kell Brook was past his prime. You know, Benavidez, he was kind of half injured. You know, so what basis are we judging that, you know, he punches, you know, far harder? I don't quite understand. I'm a little bit confused. I'm a little bit confused to why people think that Errol Spence is, Terence Crawford is a bigger puncher. He's not. He's nowhere near as big a puncher. So yeah, I'm a little bit confused by that. I'm a little bit confused, and I don't certainly agree with it. I think for me, Errol Spence is a dangerous. He can punch. Now, I'm not saying he's a big puncher. He's not a big puncher. Errol Spence isn't a guy, a one-punch knockout artist, but he kind of chips away at you and beats you up. Look, this is a guy that's broke people's eye sockets. You know, he's broke Ugas's orbital bone, and he broke Kell Brook's eye socket. So this is a guy that, you know, can beat you down. He's strong. He's a rugged guy. He's a tough, rugged guy, and he can break Crawford down. I don't know whether Crawford will be strong enough to keep him off, but that he may well be, because Crawford is physically strong. You know, I think Crawford's done a lot of wrestling in his you know, as he was young, he did a lot of wrestling, so he's quite strong. But again, you know, Errol Spence for me is bigger. Now, Teddy Atlas said that I think Terence Crawford will win. That, you know, Terence Crawford has got a bit more dog in him. And he'll outbeat. And that, look, like I said, I'm not very confident in my pick. I'm not very sure. And I was having a discussion. The only way you're going to be sure and say, well, Errol Spence is going to win, that's because you're an Errol Spence fan. The only way you're going to be sure if Terence Crawford's going to win is because you're a Terence Crawford fan. So you're saying something that you want to happen rather than what will happen. Right? Because you can't be sure. In this type of fight, they're too closely matched, and there's not much to split between them for us to make a judgment on who would win and whether it's a good fight or a bad. Like, to me, this is a proper fight that could go either way. This is a proper fight that is very, very difficult to split them. So for you to be confident either way, I can't see it. You know, I've watched a lot of boxing now over the last decade. Right? I've watched a lot of boxing, and I'm finding it difficult now to split these two guys. Because, yeah, Crawford might be the naturally more gifted, but Spence is the bigger man. Spence is naturally the bigger guy here. So it's going to be hard, very hard, for Crawford, to outbox him, because I don't think Terence Crawford is going to knock out Errol Spence. Now, people may disagree, people may not agree with me, but I don't see him beating. I don't see this being an easy fight for him to just outbox him and be slit. It's easy. It's easier said than done. It's easier said than done. I think it's very difficult to do, actually. You know, to outbox somebody, and that's what I think he's gonna have to do for 12 rounds. And it's gonna be very tough, very, very tough for me. And that's just the way I see it. I think it's gonna be a very hard fight. And I actually think that there's gonna be rounds where Errol Spence even wins rounds against Terence Crawford. I do, because Errol Spence is probably a much better boxer than what people give him credit for. If I'm honest with you, I think Errol Spence is a much more skilled and a very fundamentally sound boxer. You know, Terence Crawford's just got more gears to his game. He's more versatile for me. He's more skilled in the sense that he's got faster feet. He's naturally the more athletically gifted fighter. But that doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, Errol Spence can't win rounds, because like I said, Errol Spence is a bigger man. He's bigger. He's stronger. You know, he should be stronger, in my opinion. I think he will be stronger. You know, I think people don't realize how strong Errol Spence is. You know, when he's going down to the body, you know, and he will land body shots because he keeps coming. The only way Errol Spence isn't going to come forward if Terence Crawford is got some serious power and he can hurt Errol Spence. But if Errol Spence is not being hurt by Terence Crawford's shots, then Terence Crawford has a serious problem on his hands. Because this is a wrecking machine walking forward at you, looking to destroy you and rip you in half. So if Terence Crawford isn't able to hurt Errol Spence, he's going to find it very difficult to win, because Errol Spence will probably put a beat down on him. You know, look, I'd be very surprised if Terence Crawford just outclasses Errol Spence. I just don't think Terence Crawford. I don't think Terence Crawford is going to be able to keep this guy off. You know, and you need to have serious punching power to keep someone like Errol Spence on, because Errol Spence has a very good chin. Very good chin. So I think it's going to be a tough fight for Crawford. But on the other hand, who knows? Maybe Crawford is that generational talent that just is too good and he just outclasses Spence. It's a possibility. Like I said, I'm not counting that out. You know, it can go either way. It's just my opinion. I think it may even go the other way. Crawford might outclass him, might beat him, may even stop him. Who knows? May even knock him out. You know, Crawford might be that good. We just don't know. This is what I mean, because Crawford hasn't really fought a lot of the top competition. Do you know what I mean? He's fought Porter and a lot of the other guys like Khan, Brook, they were all washed. So we need to see him against more guys, and it looks like the next fight will be against Errol Spence. We'll see him against the top guy, see how he gets on. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. Leave your thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.